it seems that all eyes are going to be on the Alabama Crimson Tide in this 2026 season, and honestly, I think it's well warranted. It's Kalen DeBoer's third year. There's been a lot of turnover from his first year to this year in staff, in roster. There's very little remnant of what Nick Saban left over there. And over the last couple of years, you've underperformed compared to the Alabama expectation. I know you, as a Bama fan watching this, have not absolutely loved everything you've seen on the field the last couple of years. They've been underperforming in key areas that you just don't ever see as an Alabama fan. So what we're doing today, we're going to go through the 2026 Alabama Crimson Tide. We're going to preview their season, talk about the roster changes, talk about the staff changes, what we're expecting, things to look at coming into this year, and we're also going to be running through a full schedule prediction where I'll give you all of the wins and losses that I'm predicting, their overall win total, best case, worst case. We'll go through that all today, but we're going to start where we always start, which is how did the 2025 season end up for the Crimson Tide? And it didn't end up bad. Let's be honest. It didn't end up terrible at all. You made the college football playoff quarterfinal. You went 11-4 in total. An 11-win season is nothing to sneeze at. If you are anybody in the country outside of maybe a handful of programs, namely Alabama, you're really happy with this season. A lot of programs would be so happy to make a college football playoff quarterfinal, even if you did get smoked by Indiana, because they went on to win it all and basically smoked 90% of the people they played all year. But not if you're Alabama. You expect more than that, and you expect a better presentation of your program in the playoffs and in those meaningful games. So, you went 11-4 last season, 10-2 in the regular season. Those two losses in the regular season came in non-Alabama fashion as well. You played up to competition very well. You beat Georgia, which you needed to in the regular season last year. You beat LSU, and not only did you beat them, you absolutely crushed them, ran all over them last season. But in those games against Florida State and Oklahoma, you didn't play your best football. You didn't play up to the Alabama standard. You played down to the level of your competition, and that's not something that you ever expect yourselves to do as Alabama. Then you go in, you still get through the regular season 10-2, you go into the SEC championship game, and you are lifeless against Georgia. Completely lifeless against Georgia. Again, it's okay to lose football games as Alabama. Like, it's not okay to lose, but it's okay to lose as long as you made it very competitive and you made life hell for the other team. This is a game where you didn't. You got -3 rushing yards. You lost, I think it was 28-7 was the final score. It didn't look that hard for Georgia. Then you still get into the playoffs. You beat Oklahoma. You get your revenge for that game. You go to play Indiana, and you get absolutely taken to the slaughterhouse. It wasn't fun to watch for any Alabama fan out there. I know if you're an Alabama fan watching this, it was not fun for you. You're probably sitting there yelling at the TV saying, what's the board doing? What's the plan here? What are we doing? Why is our team so bad? Why are we not performing well? All questions that need to be answered this year. Because again, we're in year 3 of DeBoer. We have his full staff. We have his full roster. There is very little, if any, remnant of what Nick Saban left over. This is fully his. So now that we've covered last season and the underwhelming performance that it was for your standard, let's go into the 2026 season. What changes happened that we're going to be on the lookout for? Why did they happen? And what are we looking at for the roster? Number one, we got a new QB coach in there, Brian Ellis. Our other QB coach is gone. Brian Ellis, he's not new to the program. He was your tight ends coach. He was a quarterbacks coach and offensive coordinator previously. I don't really have any question marks about him. I think he's going to be a good plug in there. The question really is going to be brand new QB coach and then also first-year starter at quarterback this year. How do those things mesh together in an offense that last year relied so heavily on the quarterback to make the plays in order to win them football games? Because Ty Simpson, he did an awesome job for you last year. Let's be honest. He did. He won you football games last year that you maybe shouldn't have won without him. You got Derek Nix coming in and coaching the wide receivers, and then after the offensive line severely underperformed last year, because you were expecting that offensive line to be potential Joe Moore finalists at the beginning of the season. They had all the big names, they had all the big numbers, they had all the guys coming back, and they were going to be great. And then you couldn't run the football. And because of that, the offensive line's development was not. It was proven the offensive line development just wasn't there. You get rid of your O-line coach and you get Adrian Clem in to coach the O-lineman. He's going to have a big challenge in this coming year. We'll get to that here in a minute. Essentially, you're overturning an entire offensive line. You got one returning starter, and I think he's going to be in a different position than he was last year, if everything that I'm reading is correct on where they were practicing with him in spring and where they're expecting him to go in fall. So, essentially retooling a complete offensive line with a brand new O-line coach. Let's hope he comes in and he establishes that just nasty toughness that we expect out of an Alabama team, that you expect out of an Alabama team. Who do we lose last year or over the offseason that is going to be a key loss that we have to replace? There's a lot. Y'all had a bunch of guys drafted. Y'all had a bunch of guys that had a lot of good production for you last year, names that you heard consistently game after game after game, that we're going to have to figure out how to replace them. We lost Ty Simpson. We lost Jeremy Bernard, who was just a freak for you last year. Anytime you needed a first down, he was your go-to guy. You lost Deontay Lawson, Justin Jefferson, Tim Keenan, Jam Miller in the backfield. I know your rushing game or your running game wasn't great on offense. I don't think it was Jam Miller's fault. I think it was really the offensive line's fault. He ran hard. There were times where he missed gaps, but there's times where every running back misses a hole. And then Caden Proctor is also gone as well. So here's a couple things I want to make sure that we keep an eye on. I mentioned it earlier, complete O-line rebuild. Can those transfers and young players really take the next step and build this O-line from scratch? And then we also have a pretty unproven D-line right now. We get into some impact returning players, and the defense is really well set outside of that defensive line, the D tackles and edge rushers. And that's not to say they're not going to be good. I think they will be good. But they're not proven. They don't have a lot of production to them. So they've got to step up and take that next step. Impact players that are returning. Ryan Coleman Williams returning as wide receiver. He burst onto the scene as a freshman, and everybody was crowning him probably the next Devontae Smith. He's probably going to go and win the Heisman. He's just a freak. Look at what he's doing as a freshman. He's only 18. That joke was going around for a while. And now you get to his sophomore season, he underperforms compared to your expectations of what he was supposed to do. Now, he may have had a lot of drops. I think he had 10 or 12 drops last year. He was having a tougher time getting open. Maybe he had their number one corner on him consistently that allowed Jeremy Bernard to get open. A bunch of different things conspired together so that Ryan Coleman Williams had a less than enthusiastic season compared to what you expected. But he's coming back, and from everything that I've heard, he's one of the hardest workers in the weight room, on the practice field. I expect him fully to come back and make an impact this year. You also got Latsier Brooks out wide as well. The defensive side is where you're returning a lot of those names that you're going to recognize. Jan Zapier, one of the top outside linebackers in the country. I have zero worries about him coming in and producing well for you. He's going to do a great job. You got QB coming back for his sophomore year. Looked pretty dang good last year as a freshman. I think he's going to take that next step, the sophomore jump or the sophomore bump, and give you some good production this year. And that defensive backfield, you're returning a lot of names that you know. Zabian Brown, Bray Hubbard, Keon Sabb, and Dejon Lee. But as you notice, nobody in there from the defensive tackle room, nobody in there from the edge rusher room necessarily. Jan Zapier is going to get his licks in on the quarterback whenever he can. But that leads to a couple of questions that I have, the two main questions that I have for this football team, and they both revolve around the run. On offense, can you run the ball? You've got a new starting five on offensive line, at least new pieces in there. And last year, you were, 123rd in rushing offense in 2025. And that's not to the Alabama standard. Again, you're an Alabama fan watching this. That's not what you want to see. That's not the type of game that you want Alabama to be playing. You want them to be dominant on the ground, because we know whenever we're dominant on the ground, it opens up the passing game. We remember when Derrick Henry was here. We remember when any of those just vaunted running backs were at Alabama. And we know how difficult it was to play against them because If they're up in the fourth quarter, good luck, because they're just going to run it down your throat for first down after first down after first down. And I don't doubt that you've got good guys in the backfield or in the tailback room to get those runs. You don't have a Derrick Henry back there, I don't think. But also, do you have the offensive line that you once had in order to build and open those rushing lanes for them? With 5 brand new guys essentially coming in, having to learn how to gel together with an offense that last year couldn't figure out how to run the ball positively, there's a lot of question marks around that run game in my head. And the offensive football game is won with the run. As an LSU fan, we couldn't run the football over the last 2 years anyway. In fact, over the last 4 years without Jaden Daniels, we couldn't run the football at all. And the last 2 years have been painfully bad in the run game. And because of that, our offense significantly suffered. It means that the entirety of your success is based off of whether your quarterback, number one, can have enough time to pass, and number two, can hit their receivers in the hands in stride, and number three, if the receivers could catch the ball, like we wanted Ryan Williams to do more last year. So I don't want to rely on that. I want to establish the run. That's going to open up the passing game. Second question, can you stop the run? When you've got new names, new faces in the defensive tackle room on that defensive line, that's something that you need to do as a defense, because if you can stop the run, much like if you have the run stopped as an offense and you become one-dimensional and you have to pass the football, if you can make the offense that you're playing against one-dimensional, that's going to pay dividends down the line. Now, I don't worry about your defensive backfield. Like I said, we got a lot of production returning in that safety and DB room. We got some returning production in the linebacker room. But that front four, if they can do their job and they can stop the run, that makes their job a lot easier in the defensive backfield. Those are the two main questions that I have coming into the season. The last one, who wins the quarterback battle? It's not really a question. I think both quarterbacks are going to be really good, whoever it is that starts for you. Austin Mack coming over and transferring over with Kalen DeBoer from Washington a few years back. He's the older one. He's got more experience in practice, a little bit of experience in games. But it seems that Keelan Russell is the name that everybody is talking about right now, the guy everyone's talking about. I don't know if that's physical attributes. I don't know if it's because he's just playing better football in spring practice. But it'll be fun. It'll be a really interesting thing to follow this August before the season starts. Lastly, before we get into the schedule prediction, that's coming up in just about 30 seconds, the last thing that I always like to cover is what is the fan sentiment around the team going into the year. And from everything that I can gauge, Alabama fans are cautiously optimistic. They think that Kalen DeBoer can be the guy. They are trusting in the process because it's gotten him to a national championship before with a team like Washington, which is nowhere near the talent level or talent pool of a team like Alabama. So if he can do it there, surely he can do it here, right? But I got to be cautious about it because I don't want to put all my chips in on this guy and say, yep, he's the one, and he falls flat on his face all over again, or we don't have a running game again, and we can't figure that part of the offense out for an offensive-minded guy. I don't worry about the quarterback as much, but there's those other pieces of the game that have to fall your way that you have to take control of. Is he going to be the guy? I think he can. This is the year to prove it. So cautiously optimistic as an Alabama fan. With all of that out of the way, let's get into the 2026 schedule prediction for the Crimson Tide. To start, betting markets have you at an over-under win total of 8.5 right now. Now, this is before we have a quarterback in place. This is before we know what our offensive line's looking like. This is before we have any intel in from fall practice. If you think that this is the easiest betting line of the year, which I've heard plenty of people say this is the easiest over to pick of the year, now's your chance to get it because this could absolutely move once we have some more answers on the offensive side. But most betting markets I found have had you at 8.5. Getting into week 1 of the season, you play ECU at home. That's going to be a win. I'm counting that as a win. I don't think they come and surprise you. Then we got week 2. We're playing at Kentucky. I don't think this is going to be a surprising game either. Will Stein's coming in there. He's got his, he's a first-year coach. We got Joe Sloan coming in as offensive coordinator. I don't need to rehash how I feel about him as an LSU fan over the last couple of years. I think Will Stein's going to pour into him. I think he's going to make him a better play caller, a better offensive coordinator. But this year, it doesn't matter. You win that game in week 2 against Kentucky at Kentucky. Week 3, we got Florida State coming into Tuscaloosa. They're not going to catch you again. Kalen DeBoer is not going to let them catch you again. You have the better talent roster. They're not going to surprise you with anything that they do. Mike Norvell, everybody believes he's on his way out. I think this is the game that you, as an Alabama fan, go into thinking this is the game that we got to just get Norvell out of there. We got to go and make a statement. We got to go put a hurt on them and let them know we're finally back. And it's a game that you can do it. So, Florida State, that's a win. Week 4, you play South Carolina. This one's not in Columbia this year. Last year and in years prior, that could get a little bit hairy. But this year, it's not. This year, it's going to be in Tuscaloosa. And because of that, because I think you have the better roster than they do, you're going to come out of that week with a win, and you start the season 4-0. Then week 5, you go play at Mississippi State. If there is a place in the SEC to play early in the year, it's going to be at Mississippi State, or to play an away game early in the year. It's going to be at Mississippi State. You're going to have the better talent roster. The Cowbells are going to annoy you to no end, but you still come out of Mississippi State with a win. It may be closer than you want it to be, but it's your first real test in an away environment against a slightly more established team than you saw in Kentucky. Then we come to week 6, and this week 6, 7, 8, 3-game stretch is brutal. And I wouldn't wish this on anybody, but your next game is going to be against Georgia. Bonus, you get it at home. You get it in Bryant-Denny. But it's still Georgia. And I think Georgia this year, with Gunnar Stockton coming back for another year starting, Kirby Smart, who's just going to put a good defense on the field, and they've been really quiet over there in Athens. I think they got a really good team. And I think Kirby is very quietly confident going into this year. And because of their roster being so good, I think they march into Tuscaloosa, and they come out with a win. So Alabama loses week 6 against Georgia. Week 7, after that, you immediately have to go to Neyland and play at Tennessee. Not a task that I would want to have going back-to-back. However, you know what to expect there. Kalen DeBoer knows what to expect going into that away game, into that environment. He knows what to prep the team for, and they've got their own quarterback battle going on over at Tennessee. They've got their own roster difficulties going on over there. And their quarterback battle, from everything that I've heard, if either of the Alabama quarterbacks, if Austin Mack or Keelan Russell were at Tennessee, they would have already won the quarterback starting job this year. So I think you have the better quarterback. I think you're going to have the better roster. Yes, it's in Neyland. Yes, it's going to be a crazy environment. But you know what to expect going in there. I believe you come out of that with a win. And then the final game of this brutal 3-game stretch is Texas A&M. Now, again, thankfully, you do get them at home. But Marcel Reed's coming back for another year starting. You got Mike Elko, who's just going to throw out a great defense. They're going to have good pass rushers. They're going to have good talent. And this is the game where I think all of the question marks that we talked about previously in the season preview, those question marks are going to come to a head in this game. Because we've got the first-year quarterback that's going to have to figure out how to play against really good defenses that are probably going to come at you really fast. Their pass rush is always good at Texas A&M. You got your offensive line who's going to have to figure out how to hold that down as well, and open and establish a running game in which Texas A&M was one of the better teams against the rush last year. All of the and you've got your defense, who I think is going to play well. Can you defend the run? Because Texas A&M knows how to open up that run game as well. I think you're going to do fine defending Marcel Reed in the pass game. I don't question that. But of those multiple phases of the game, rushing offense, rushing defense, passing defense, keeping special teams out of it, I think you lose 3 of the 4 to Texas A&M, and because of that, you lose the game against Texas A&M, although it is at home. So we get to the bye week in week 9. Love the placement of the bye week here. It's always the bye week for LSU and Alabama before they play each other, but you get through to week 9 in your bye week, and you are 6-2, which is not necessarily where we want to be as an Alabama fan, I can understand the losses. The difference is I think you feel a lot better at this point in the year than you did last year because your team is performing up to expectations and up to standards. There may be other rosters out there that just have better talent, more talent, different levels of talent than you have as you are trying to really build and develop this roster that you have with, remember, a first-year quarterback. We can't overstate how much that means to a college football team to have a first-year starter in at quarterback. It's so difficult for them to get from having zero experience in college football to now starting in the SEC. It's a faster game. It's a faster pace. I don't care how long Austin Mack has been playing or in college football to be leading that team, if he is indeed going to be the starter or if Keelan Russell comes in and he starts immediately. Either way, it's a whole different ball game. So having 2 losses on the schedule, I can understand it if we play a better brand of football, if we run the football well, and if we just play the defense we know Alabama can. Then you go in Week 10 at LSU in Death Valley. This is going to be a big game for both teams, for both squads. This is going to be the game that has the playoff implications on it. The winner definitely has the ability to make the playoff. The loser will have a much tougher time and will need some help. Lane Kiffin's going to be in his first season there. They have a transfer quarterback in Sam Leavitt that's coming in. The difference between Alabama and their first-year quarterback in their situation and LSU in their situation is LSU went out, Lane Kiffin went out and spent a lot of money in the transfer portal to get really high-level players. And they had a lot of good returning production coming back, especially on the defensive side. They got returning starters coming back at running back. I don't worry about Lane Kiffin putting out a good offense. I don't worry about Lane Kiffin running the football. He's had the number 1 rushing offense in the SEC over the last 5 years when he's been at Ole Miss. Can he come into LSU and establish a run game? I think so. I don't think that's going to be an issue. I think LSU in total has a better talent roster than you have right now. That's pre-player development, that of your sophomores and juniors continuing to develop. But I think you leave LSU, you leave Death Valley with a loss because of all of those factors. But I think that pisses you off enough to have a really good run to the end of the season, and you really make a statement in your last 3 games. At Vanderbilt, they don't have Diego Pavia. Yes, Clark Lee is a magician. He has turned Vanderbilt from nothing into something with a heartbeat. I don't think it matters. You win at Vandy. You're going to beat Chattanooga in Week 12 and then Week 13 against Auburn. You're playing Alex Golesh in his first year. Yes, Byron Brown's supposed to come in, be a great quarterback. They brought so much in from South Florida, and I don't believe South Florida plays very well in the SEC in total. They played well against Florida. They played well against Miami whenever both of them were not playing their best football. You're going to be playing your best football at this point in the year. I don't think that's going to be a question. You're going to go in. You're going to want to win, and I think you are easily going to win against, I think you're easily going to win against Auburn in this final week. So based on this schedule prediction, the Alabama Crimson Tide are going to end the 2026 season with a 9-3 record if the script plays out exactly how I've written it. Your best case scenario is 11-1. So if you don't go 9-3 and you play up to the standard of Alabama football, you'll go 11-1. I don't think you go through the week 6, 7, 8 stretch of Georgia, Tennessee, Texas A&M winning all 3 of those. I think you lose at least one of them no matter what, but every single other game on this schedule is absolutely winnable for you. Worst case, though, you play your worst football. Kalen DeBoer's on the hot seat midway through the season because things aren't going well. O-line's not developing. D-line can't stop the run. Quarterback play is not good. Things just are not clicking at all. Worst case is 7-5. You got your 3 losses that were already here, and you can also lose. You can lose to South Carolina, Tennessee, Auburn, Kentucky. Those are the 4 that I could see losses to. Maybe not so much Kentucky, but I don't think you lose all of them. You're not going 6-6. 7-5, I think, is your worst case. But I'm sure you as Alabama fans, in watching this whole video, you don't even think you're going to go 9-3. 9-3 doesn't meet the standard at all. You think that I'm crazy for all these projections and predictions that I'm putting out there. Tell me where I'm wrong. Tell me what you believe their schedule or their record is going to be, in the 2026 season. What did I get wrong or need to update on the season preview side? Players that I didn't mention that I need to look out for or other viewers need to look out for? Leave all that in the comments. If you're listening on YouTube, please make sure to like and subscribe. We are a brand new channel. We're only 11 episodes in now, so every single bit of engagement helps. If you enjoyed this, please, that would mean a lot to us. If you're listening on podcast, rate, review, and subscribe on Spotify and on Apple Music, and we'll catch you again in the next video. We're gonna release that on Thursday. It's gonna be another season preview, another schedule prediction. Shortly after that, we're gonna start doing the normal episodes again with multiple segments, going through college football, specifically SEC football, what to expect going into the season. SEC Media Days are around the corner, and then the season's gonna be right after that, and that is gonna be a ton of fun. Can't wait, but I hope you'll have a great rest of your day. Have a great week, and we'll catch you on Thursday.